Three towering ocean liners were destined to change maritime history forever: the Olympic, the Titanic, and the Britannic. Most people know the tragic tale of the Titanic, but few have heard the story of her younger sister, Britannic. Lauded as unsinkable, Britannic was designed to overcome the flaws that doomed the Titanic. Yet, despite these efforts, the Britannic sank in less than an hour, becoming one of the largest shipwrecks in history. What caused this grand vessel, equipped with advanced safety features, to meet such a catastrophic end? Was it sabotage during wartime, a deadly mistake, or an unavoidable tragedy? In this documentary, we'll uncover the story of the Britannic, her beginnings, her heroic wartime service, and the fateful voyage that led to her demise. The story of Britannic begins in the shadow of disaster. After the Titanic's tragic sinking in 1912, the White Star Line and shipbuilders Harland and Wolff resolved to rebuild public trust in ocean travel. They turned their attention to the construction of the third and final ship in their Olympic-class trio, the Britannic. Britannic was designed to be bigger, stronger, and safer than her ill-fated sister. Her hull was reinforced with a double skin to better withstand damage, and her bulkheads were extended higher to prevent flooding. She boasted 48 lifeboats, enough to accommodate every passenger and crew member, a glaring improvement over Titanic's insufficient lifeboat capacity. Britannic was also equipped with state-of-the-art watertight doors and additional lifeboat davits to ensure no one would be left behind. Initially envisioned as a luxury ocean liner, Britannic was intended to ferry wealthy passengers across the Atlantic in unmatched opulence. Yet, the outbreak of World War I in 1914 dramatically altered her fate. Instead of luxurious voyages, Britannic would soon be pressed into service as a hospital ship, tasked with saving lives in a world gripped by conflict. In 1915, the Britannic was requisitioned by the British Admiralty and transformed into His Majesty's hospital ship. Her lavish interiors were stripped away and replaced with medical wards, operating theaters, and space for over 3,000 wounded soldiers. Painted white with a bold red cross on her hull, she was a beacon of hope and healing in a time of immense suffering. Britannic quickly became a vital lifeline for the Allied forces, ferrying wounded soldiers from the battlefields of Gallipoli back to safety. Her voyages were not without danger. The waters of the Mediterranean were plagued by German U-boats, laying mines and hunting for Allied ships. Despite the risks, Britannic continued her missions with remarkable efficiency, earning a reputation as a resilient and dependable vessel. By late 1916, Britannic had completed 5 successful voyages carrying thousands of injured troops. However, as her 6th voyage loomed, the war-torn Mediterranean held new and deadly perils. The stage was set for tragedy. On the morning of November 21, 1916, the Britannic was sailing through the Kea Channel in the Aegean Sea, en route to pick up more wounded soldiers. The sun shone brightly, and the sea was calm, a stark contrast to the chaos of war. Yet, beneath the serene waters lay a hidden threat. At 8:12 a.m., a massive explosion rocked the Britannic. The ship had struck a German naval mine, one of many deployed to disrupt Allied operations. These mines, part of a deadly underwater minefield laid by the German submarine U-73, were designed to destroy military and civilian vessels alike. Each mine contained hundreds of pounds of high explosives housed within a steel casing. Anchored to the seabed with a cable, the mines floated just below the water's surface, nearly invisible to passing ships. When the Britannic's hull made contact with the mine, the explosion created a massive breach near her bow, instantly compromising several watertight compartments. The force of the explosion was catastrophic. Water surged into the ship with relentless speed, overwhelming the watertight doors and bulkheads. Despite her reinforced design, the Britannic began to list to starboard at an alarming rate. The crew, trained and prepared for emergencies, acted quickly, but the damage was too extensive to control. Captain Charles Bartlett, nicknamed Iceberg Charlie for his cautious nature, immediately ordered the watertight doors to be closed and signaled for lifeboats to be prepared. Unknown to the crew, some of the ship's portholes had been left open to ventilate the hospital wards. As water poured through these openings, the flooding accelerated dramatically. Despite the chaos, Bartlett attempted a daring maneuver, steering the Britannic toward a nearby island in hopes of beaching the ship. However, the engine room was soon overwhelmed by seawater, forcing the crew to abandon the plan. The mighty Britannic was doomed. As the ship's list became more severe, the order to abandon ship was given. Lifeboats were quickly lowered, but the situation on board spiraled into disaster. Amidst the chaos, the Britannic's propellers continued turning at full speed, a decision likely made in a desperate attempt to reach the nearby island of Kea. This turned the rear of the ship into a death trap. As lifeboats were launched, the powerful suction created by the spinning propellers began to draw them in. The horrifying scene saw multiple lifeboats torn apart by the churning blades, resulting in the deaths of dozens of passengers and crew members. Survivors described the terror of hearing the roar of the propellers and seeing the water churn red with debris and blood. Despite this, the crew displayed remarkable courage and quick thinking. Many threw themselves into the sea, swimming frantically to avoid being pulled into the propellers. Some survivors clung to debris, while others managed to board lifeboats that had safely launched away from the ship's stern. One of the most famous survivors was Violet Jessop, a stewardess and nurse who had also survived the Titanic disaster. As the Britannic sank, Jessop found herself thrown from a lifeboat that was nearly pulled into the propellers. Her calmness under pressure and sheer luck once again saved her life, earning her the nickname Miss Unsinkable. Meanwhile, Captain Bartlett stayed on the bridge, ensuring as many lives as possible were saved. Only when the water reached the bridge did he dive into the sea, swimming to safety as his ship disappeared beneath the waves. By this time, the Britannic's bow had plunged deep into the water, and the stern rose high into the air before the massive ship finally sank at 9:07 a.m., less than 55 minutes after the explosion. Of the 1,066 people on board, 30 lost their lives. While the death toll was far lower than that of the Titanic, the speed of the Britannic's sinking and the harrowing scenes of destruction left an indelible mark on all who survived. Rescue efforts began almost immediately. Nearby ships and Greek fishermen raced to the scene, pulling survivors from the water and ferrying them to safety. The wreck of the Britannic lies over 400 feet below the surface of the Aegean Sea, remarkably well preserved due to its relatively shallow resting place. Discovered by Jacques Cousteau in 1975, the wreck has since been explored by divers and researchers seeking to unravel the mysteries of her sinking. Today, the Britannic serves as both a war grave and a testament to the fragility of even the most impressive engineering feats. Her story, often overshadowed by the Titanic, is a powerful reminder of the dangers faced by those who sailed the seas during wartime. What do you think caused the sinking of the Britannic? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more fascinating stories.